really good, great, really good, awesome. And that's just some of the segments on AEW Dynamite tonight. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys. You ready, Rev?
Sure, let's start the show.
Uh-oh.
Yes, boy!
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
We can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James DeSanti, back from our vacation. I hope everybody had a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed Full Gear. I hope you enjoyed Survivor Series, if you possibly could have. I hope you enjoyed Dynamite, Raw, Collision, SmackDown, and whatever else in between. And you guys all had a good couple of days off last week. But we are back, and we are here to discuss tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. And we start in the main event of the show, where we continued on in the Continental Classic.
You know what? Rev, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We do got to just acknowledge some stuff real quick before we get going. We usually save this stuff for the end of the show, but I feel like we got to address it now because we've got some new people here. We have gained a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks. Some of you guys might be new to us, and if you are, we appreciate having you here. What up, you know it? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
I'm here for Lane Kiffin jokes.
But yeah, we have a lot of new followers, a lot of new subs. So if you're unfamiliar with us, welcome. We have fun here. Usually on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we watch on Mondays and Fridays, and sometimes that's fun. But we are happy to have you here. Please join in on the comments if you're one of our new followers. If you're one of our usuals, like you know it, who we're so happy to always talk to, obviously help lead the discussion. But really happy to have you guys with us. We are only 3 away from 2,000 subs. Damn. And for us, that's huge. We really appreciate every single one of you. So thank you guys so much if you're new. Thank you guys so much if you're one of our OGs. And let's just keep the fun going. So, Rev, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I feel like we needed to get that out there now.
No, I appreciate it. I think that was a good shot. And then it means we're only 1,002 subscribers away from us being able to use the Dragon Ball Z GIF.
Woo!
But as I was saying, let us get into the main event of the evening, which saw Jon Moxley face off against Claudio Castagnoli in some Blue League action from the Continental Classic. Now, this has started last week, and I believe both men are at 3 points coming into the night.
That is correct, sir.
Some interesting things. During the entrance, we had Marina Shafir come out with Jon Moxley. And as he was coming out, we did have Renee give a report from the sideline, from the stands. James found that to be very interesting, clearly. But nothing much came of it. And it's not the first time we've seen Renee do that. At least nothing much came of it tonight, according to James. And we had Wheeler, Yuta, and Danny Garcia come out with Claudio Castagnoli. We also had Marina stick around at ringside at the start of the match. And as Brian was calling it out, referee Bryce Remsburg did eventually remove her from the ringside area. As we say hello to Fernando. What's going on, my guy? Some quick notes on this match. Moxley got bloodied apparently during the commercial break.
It needs to be said. It is so unimportant seeing Jon Moxley bleed nowadays that they're just fine letting it happen during commercial. That's how commonplace it is. Like for most commercial breaks, rest holds, chin locks, stuff like that. For Jon Moxley, bleeding. Doing the job, doing the gig. Gotta love it. Thank you, by the way, Fernando. We had great Thanksgivings. We hope yours was as well.
Yep, you and everybody watching us here tonight. I think Moxley might have gotten bloodied on those upturned steps that came in towards the end of the match, because I didn't notice those until Claudio stomped him through that chair, or at least attempted to. So I'm guessing that's probably in and around where that ended up happening. But either way, we didn't really see it, and it wasn't too noticeable until Claudio put Moxley in the swing and sent all the blood rushing to his head. And then Mox
I
really
thought that was
started
great.
leaking.
I thought that was such a cool touch because, one, we know how cool the swing is in general. We've seen that it could be a finisher for Claudio in AEW or Ring of Honor. So on its own, that's like, oh my God, he's trying to take out Moxley. But with all that blood going into the submission, into the sharpshooter, which Brian pointed out, Claudio knows how often Mox has tapped out lately.
Yep.
Brilliant play from Claudio. I thought that was great work.
Yeah, and I thought commentary did a good job as well on the reverse side of things with the submissions, mentioning that when Moxley had in a bulldog choke, Claudio was kind of able to slip out because Mox was bleeding so much, made things too slippery, and Castagnoli was able to escape. This match, as bloody and as heavy hitting as it was, ended rather abruptly, I thought, as after a paradigm shift from Moxley, both men crawled into opposite corners in an attempt to recompose themselves. Moxley was kind of the first to get to his feet as he pulled himself up in the corner. And just as he does that, and Justin Roberts makes the call for 15 minutes gone by, 5 minutes remaining, Claudio springs up like a linebacker at training camp and sprints across the ring like a bat out of hell and just hits Moxley with a massive uppercut, taking Mox's head off, and Claudio pins him for the 3 count in the corner and picks up what I won't call an upset win.
Yeah, I don't want to call it an upset.
But it definitely, the lines probably had Moxley as the slight favorite here coming in.
I don't know that that's true.
I think in kayfabe, I think the lines might have had Moxley.
Maybe,
outside of kayfabe, this makes a whole lot of sense, which we'll get to in a second. Just briefly, after the match, Marina came down first, and she helped Mox roll out of the ring to recover, while Pac was in there talking to and seemingly congratulating Claudio. We then had Wheeler and Danny come down after that with Yuta dapping up Claudio, and Garcia was kind of more hovering around Moxley, trying to see how he was doing. But James, that does lead us to a couple of things here. Obviously, first and foremost, Claudio takes the lead in Blue League of the Continental Classic. Now, a lot of guys still have to go on that side of the bracket there, and that'll happen on Collision. But to Fernando's point here on the screen, this does possibly it looks like it's leading towards Claudio usurping Moxley and becoming leader of the Death Riders, something Brian actually kind of alluded to on commentary.
Brian said it wonderfully on commentary after the match. Throughout their entirety together in the Blackpool Combat Club, Brian was unable to beat Jon Moxley. So that's why everybody considered Moxley to be the leader of the Blackpool Combat Club. Well, Claudio just beat Moxley. So that opens up some very interesting discussions, some very interesting conversations. After the match, everyone seemed to play nice. You know, as you said, Marina went to Mox. But everyone went to Mox. Yuta went to Mox. Garcia went to Mox. We didn't see Pac do it, but admittedly, they didn't spend a lot of time once Pac and Claudio went out of the ring.
Yeah.
Pac immediately went to Claudio inside the ring, but we did see Claudio go to Mox. So very interesting how this all played out. Go ahead.
He went near him. He didn't really talk to him or anything, at least not on TV. Maybe there's something else come out after that we see, but
I think that's the big thing. I think we didn't see what was happening, but it very much looked like Claudio was going right towards Moxley.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I would love to know if we were there. We would have recorded that footage of what happened after the show, put it on the channel.
Yeah, I ain't going to Indiana anytime soon. Unless I go to South Bend.
But I really enjoyed the matchup. I got to give it to every Continental Classic match tonight. Every single one was hard hitting. It felt pretty much like every match had 2 bullet trains on a collision course. Whether it was Kevin Knight and Kyle Fletcher, whether it was Okada and Pac, or now here between Mox and Claudio, you could feel that every competitor feels the pressure to get further along in this tournament. And I love that. It really sells the importance of what this tournament is. So bravo, first of all, to all the matchups, especially this one, we're the one we're talking about right now, but very well done. Got to talk about it. I now have it locked in my head. Renee is going to play a part in whatever, like, all joking aside, like, we know, I love Renee. I think she's incredible at what she does.
Even though you've been calling her a heel for the last
I can respect a good heel. I can love a good heel. You're still waving the ops flag. Like, you can acknowledge it.
Yep.
I can acknowledge Renee has been slightly heelish. Slightly. And seeing her doing her ring work, doing her mic work as Mox is walking past her, I truly feel like she's going to be involved. Not in any, like, she's going to make any decisions kind of way, but I think the Death Riders are going to use her to either get to Mox, or it's going to create a hell of a visual of him just decimated while she's watching at ringside.
I think perhaps if anything happens, it might be the latter of the two. I don't know if she actually gets involved in terms of, like, I don't think the Death Riders would grab her and hold her and force her to watch type of thing. She might just
how good would it be?
She might just be ringside reporting. But I think I'm only pushing back against that for really two reasons. One, we don't really see a lot of Moxley and Renee on screen together. We occasionally see it. It's usually Moxley interrupting something because he's just barreling through backstage. Or there was the thing before All In where they were driving around in the car together and Renee was just like, okay, you have to tell me why we have to do it this way. I don't understand. And there was the whole other thing on the internet when she visited them and they were training and stuff. But for the most part, they keep the two separated.
And I recognize that, but that's definitely Death Riders wise. She got involved with a lot of stuff pre-Death Riders. She was in the middle of the Eddie Kingston stuff. Yeah. She slapped who was it? Somebody. No, that was WWE. She slapped the Miz. Yeah. I feel like she got involved in something else AEW wise. All I'm saying is, realistically, if you're going for the heat, it's all about that heat, brother. If you're going for the heat, maximize the drama. And in that case, having her watch or having her be helpless as her husband is being picked apart by his former teammates who know how personal this is, I think that's a good way of playing it.
I could see it maybe, like you said, she's doing her ringside reporting and then watching this, and maybe Brian has to keep her from getting involved or something like that. I could see it more like that. I just don't think they'll have the Death Riders put their hands on her. I don't know why.
Marina's already done it.
I guess Marina got her out of Dodge. There's a difference. I did find it. Did you read anything into the way everybody came out with Moxley and Claudio, with it being Marina with Mox, the two younger guys with Claudio, and then Pac obviously wasn't there, but I guess because he had a match earlier in the night.
Yeah, but again, he did come out after the match.
Yes.
I'm trying to read too much into it without making it obvious, if that makes sense. I don't want to just, wow, they walked out with Claudio. They're obviously with Claudio. Because I'd say after the match, Yuta went to Mox before he went to Claudio.
Yeah, which we didn't really see too much of on camera, but that's why I missed it. So good about you.
It's one of those things that it's I think we are closer to maybe a civil war than I think we anticipated. I think we just thought Mox was getting kicked out, but by all accounts, Marina is loyal to Mox. And Yuta, I don't know, that could go. If we're going to be real, Yuta has seniority in that group over Claudio. He was in the BCC before Claudio was.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, he's the young boy, but, like, he's been around that group longer. Claudio came in as a sub.
Yeah, and it would that also mean Pac is too? Or does he have seniority over Pac? Or no, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. He was in, like, it depends on if you want to consider the Death Riders a separate entity from the Blackpool Combat Club, in which case Claudio and Pac have seniority over Yuta because he was late to the draw.
Yeah.
But if you're considering the group's history, it's Mox Bryan, Yuta, Claudio. Very, very end was Pac.
Yeah, and then the turn happens.
Yeah, like almost to the point that I wouldn't even consider him a part of the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah.
He was like how Roderick Strong is the conglomeration plus Roderick Strong.
And also
so I'd say it was like the Blackpool Combat Club plus Pac, and then the Death Riders, it was its own thing. But in terms of allegiances, I'd say that it's Yuta with Mox, then Yuta with Claudio.
Well, that's what I'm interested in, because especially with Yuta, because it feels like to me Yuta has always been more with Claudio than Moxley, and whereas I think it seems to me like Garcia is a little more loyal to Moxley than to Claudio, because he joined with Moxley. He didn't, because of Moxley. He didn't necessarily join up because of Pac or Claudio.
But you got to remember, Garcia's whole thing was he joined this group because he was tired of, he wanted to be a winner. In his words, he didn't want to be a loser anymore. And since he's joined, Mox has done nothing but lose.
Yeah, that's a good point. So
yeah,
the battle lines are very interesting here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who can go either way. Except I think obviously Claudio and Pac probably won't. They're definitely gonna kill Moxley at some point, and then sides will have to be chosen.
And I think that's for the best, because the original iteration of Death Riders, you have Mox as the leader who could also cut a promo, and I love Claudio, and he's definitely gotten moments over the years where he delivers something good on the mic, but we all can acknowledge it's not his strength.
Yeah, I mean, considering he's cutting them in his like fifth language.
Yeah, no, I'm not judging. It's just I think it's fair to say they're not his strong suit. So if you have him be the leader, but Pac be his mouthpiece, I think it creates a different dynamic right out the gate.
Yeah, especially too, we've seen Pac get more promos of late since his return, and he's been crushing them. So Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. Just a couple of comments here. Mostly from I saw him say that the ending of the match should have been Claudio putting Mox in the ankle lock, a la Kyle O'Reilly, and forcing Mox to tap out. And then apparently he would bug out on Claudio after that. But I think it's a little more important that Claudio pinned Moxley, because all of Moxley's losses of late have come via submission. Claudio's the first guy to pin him in a while. Yeah. And I think that's a very important distinction.
Even Hangman winning the title was a submission.
Yep.
So you're absolutely dead on. It was the first time he's been pinned in a long time. I will go with it on this one bit. It would have been interesting to see Claudio put him in the ankle lock and have Mox freak out.
Oh, yeah.
but get out of it. Like, you're going to put me in the ankle lock? After everything, you're going to put me in the ankle lock? Like, him getting pissed off that Claudio would do that would be an interesting layer in how that develops. So I like its concept of that. I just tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, that would have been a very interesting spot during the match. And then, like, the two Mox goes up. It's like, what the fuck? Starts maybe shoving Claudio and then just eats a uppercut. Not to end it, but definitely a good sequence, perhaps.
He went down to a clothesline, right?
Who did?
Mox. Like, what put him down was an uppercut or a clothesline?
At the end of the match?
Yeah.
Well, he hit the paradigm shift, but he was so fucked up, he just had to go into the corner, I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm saying Mox getting beaten by Claudio.
Oh, tonight? No, it's an uppercut.
It was an uppercut. It wasn't a clothesline.
Yeah, no, basically, it almost looked like Ilya's uppercut, because Claudio was much lower and he sprinted over. He looked like a fucking missile.
Yeah.
And he was so much lower than normal. It almost, looked like Ilya's.
Yeah.
But, hard-hitting, bloody match. Great way to end the show.
100%.
And something James and I mentioned before we started here. A lot of storylines moving forward tonight, and this one ending the show was probably one of the biggest.
I'd argue, and this is just an AEW issue in general, I'd argue that it would have been nice if they actually did move forward with whatever's next. Like, if they're going to betray him, let it happen now, as opposed to at the end of the tournament. But it's fine. I'm good with it playing out a little bit longer. But we have spoken a few times that sometimes AEW storytelling takes 3 steps when it just needed to take 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it takes 1 when it should take 5.
Yeah. Or we start at the end to get back to the beginning. Sometimes it's weird stuff, but I'm still in. I'm still very much in. And last thing I want to say about this, if you don't mind, how good did the CMLL title look around Claudio's waist for that entrance?
I mean, he looks good in everything and with every title, but
I mean, that belt in particular
it's
looks
a good looking
like
title.
It's a classic wrestling belt, and it just looks it like a natural fit on him.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way, to Claudio being the CMLL World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, shouts to him, man. I mean, obviously, yeah, him having a belt is awesome. So I'm glad he's got another one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the top of the show then and go to our opening segment, which was a face-to-face with Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston. And I would like to quickly shout out Eddie for coming out in a Trash Pandas jersey.
Amazing. it was. I know it was the start of the show, but I popped so loudly. I was like, "That's fucking amazing. That's exquisite."
I love me some good minor league gear. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen me wear my Moon Mammoth hat every once in a while. I need more Cyclone stuff.
But there's something about the Trash Pandas.
They're such a good team.
Like, come on.
I love the Trash Pandas.
Anyway.
Getting back into it, though, Tony Schiavone is there. He introduces both men. And then as he's about to begin, Joe just takes the mic from him and demands Tony leaves the ring or he'll snatch the ugly wig off his heads. His word, not mine. Anyway, Joe then starts things off by first insulting Indiana with the pretty good line about wearing a tuxedo to a petting zoo.
Yeah.
Before moving on to a couple other questions, first of all, why Hook and subsequently why Eddie? And Joe says that Hook has a long lineage between his father and his mentor, obviously referring to himself. But he thought Hook needed to see things from the other side, was someone who can't get it done and someone who constantly talks about their potential but never fulfilling it.
Oof.
Obviously referring to Eddie.
That was low. It was great, but it was low.
Saying what, it's like, what did he say? Something like, I needed Hook to taste, what the third-rate steak was like.
What the steak tastes like for someone in third place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Joe then answers the question of what will happen next week at Winter is Coming, and he says that Eddie will come out fighting like the lion he is, but he is not going to cross the finish line just like every single other time. And it's not going to be because of anything Eddie did. It's just going to be because Joe is going to choke him out in the middle of the ring. Eddie responds and says that he can't believe a man who he considers a legend, someone who saved the independence and who he considers the greatest Ring of Honor champion of all time, has sold out and is now talking about flying around in jets.
Don't forget, he mentioned homicide quite a bit.
Yep. Went to war with my mentor Homicide. As for Hook, Eddie says that what Hook learned from him was perseverance and standing up for himself. But this is Samoa Joe that Eddie doesn't recognize, jumping people from behind like all the guys he used to hate. And Eddie closes by saying if Joe doesn't bring the greatest Ring of Honor champion of all time, if he doesn't bring the Samoan submission machine, he doesn't bring the guy that went to war with Homicide, he will eat Joe alive. And he flips the mic, music hits, and he goes to the back.
I love this.
It was short. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but they packed such hard-hitting punches in. It was 8:10 by the time this went off. So you consider the entrances and stuff. They probably had maybe 5 to 8 minutes.
I thought it ended at 8:08. I thought it ended at 8:08, like early, concise, tight. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on streaming, so I might be a couple minutes behind. But yeah, like you said, it was concise, it was tight, and everything was just a haymaker for every single one of these guys. And I expected nothing less from the two of them.
I'll be the first to say how much I love Eddie Kingston. I will root for this guy forever. He's got my loyalty. He's got my allegiance. I want the best for him. But I'll also be the first to admit that sometimes he stumbles a little bit, whether that's in the ring or even on the mic, which is his probably greatest strength. But you can tell when he's so energetic that sometimes he stumbles on his words. Sometimes the passion overrides the details.
Yeah, he gets very emotional. I think that happened to him a bit on Saturday. I don't know if you saw his promo from Collision. If you haven't, anybody, go back and watch it. It was very emotional, and it was awesome. But it was another one of those things like he gets ahead of himself a little bit when he gets emotional. And it creates a lot more realism. And for me, it's why I love his promos. But I could see why somebody would consider them not exactly, quote unquote, clean. Yeah,
it can definitely feel a little messy. But tonight, he was, I hesitate to say eloquent, but he was on point. He was direct. He got everything out without a hitch. It sounded great. And it upsets me that this feud is happening so early because I would have loved to see him be a guy to take down Joe. But I'd be shocked if he does at this point. Like, the first real defense, not even the real defense, the first defense. Like, you just know it's not going to happen. Like, it would be shocking if it did. But all in all, it's a great first feud for Joe. It's a great matchup to have on Winter is Coming, which is an upper level Dynamite.
Usually one of the best of the year.
Yeah. And we've had title changes on Winter is Coming before. Kenny won the AEW title from Moxley at Winter is Coming.
I was watching that the night before Full Gear. I went back and watched a bunch of old stuff.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I watched was I was flipping through that episode of Winter is Coming because I wanted to watch Sting debut. That was also that night. That was also the one of the first battle royales. I think it was technically the second one ever to set up for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which MJF had already had, and it was MJF and Orange Cassidy winning that. And then, as you mentioned, not only did Kenny Omega win the title that night, how he won the title was also significant with Don Callis interfering and the ending of the show where Don says you have to tune into TNA tomorrow night to find out why.
Yeah,
that kicked off that whole back and forth between TNA and AEW. So, I mean, that was, I think, maybe the first Winter is Coming, and it was the biggest, but Winter is Coming almost always follows through and delivers.
Eric with a great question. Has AEW ever done a fast reign, like less than 2 months for the main title? Excluding Jon Moxley going from the interim to regular champion when he had that match with Punk. That reign only lasted 11 days, but it obviously was slightly longer because of his interim run. Punk had it for 3 days before vacating. Moxley had it for 59 days before dropping it to MJF. Bryan had it for 48 days. So I'd say Bryan's reign is, when you take away all the nonsense and silliness of other outside issues, I'd say Bryan's reign is the quickest at 48 days. And Joe's is what, a week and a half, like let's say 11 days.
Oh, right now Joe's is currently at, it says 5+ on.
Yeah, but that's because it wasn't
updated yet.
So a little over a week. Look, is it possible? Is it possible that Eddie Kingston wins? Yes. But I don't know then what that does for everybody else's story. I don't know what that does for Hangman. I don't know what that does for Swerve, who gets like mystery name dropped later in the night. It's certainly possible, but I feel like Eddie's real feud is going to be with Hook, and I don't need to see the world title like wrapped up in that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially because too. Then if it is Hangman, which we'll talk about later, say he's coming for whoever has the title. So at some point that
yeah.
match will happen, whoever has the title, and I would imagine it's going to be against Samoa Joe.
And there is another wrinkle that I don't know if you had it, something we were going to talk about. They announced the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal for Winter is Coming.
Ooh.
Or no, I'm sorry, for 2 weeks from now. So not Winter is Coming, the show after. But they announced that the winner of the Dynamite Diamond Ring is going to get a shot at the AEW World title. So I feel like the Dynamite Diamond Ring is going to be how we get MJF back. I think that's going to be his return.
Makes sense.
And if he wins that, that means he has 2 world title shots banked in.
And I'm sure one of them will most likely be scheduled. I'm sure it won't be a similar thing where he can call his shot. Obviously, it has to be a week out with the contract, but I'm sure it'll be the winner gets a shot at whatever, World's End maybe, or whatever it is. And then you go from there.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm reading this Champions list, and 3 days for CM Punk is just funny because then he got stripped of the title.
Let's go to the comments real quick. It's saying Punk's run was epic, so long. Eric saying, "Oh, no shot Eddie wins. I thought we were talking Swerve." No. We're talking Eddie here. Eric saying MJF does both title shots in one night, both scheduled. I can see that. I can see a scenario where that happens. I see how it's possible how we get there. But one of the big issues is the surprise factor being gone. And I think that I personally think Toni I think Toni taking away the surprise factor of the contract and taking away the money in the bank factor of it killed this. But I do think maybe the idea of MJF returning, announcing he's going to cash in the night he comes back, and then the week later he does it. I think there's something you can do there. I just think personally I don't know. There's some excitement that has been robbed of this.
I think we're just so used to cash in that we have to see how Toni ends up playing this out, because I think it can still be exciting. It's just going to be a different type of exciting. And we'll see if that lives up to the level of excitement of, say, a Money in the Bank cash in, which is going to be very difficult just because that is always so, well, hopefully out of the blue. And then it becomes a really big deal. Or at least
let me tell you how poorly TNA handled it this year.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
We do not have time for that.
But I saw somebody say it would be interesting if MJF went through like the proper channels of telling AEW officials he was cashing in, but he never announces it. So it's like there's this loophole of, I said a week ago I was going to do it, but that didn't mean I had to come out and tell all you idiots that I was going to do it.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that, but like, wouldn't that get back to Tony Khan at some point? And we would have to make it official, and then wouldn't he want to promote it? Like, there's a way there, but it just gets really convoluted and messy. And I know these are things you don't have to worry about because wrestling isn't real, but at some point, that one gets
it's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah.
Just finishing up these comments real quick. Eric saying he'll say if he loses, he gets a rematch, which is interesting. I think that's a smart way. That is a potential way to do it. And it's saying Money in the Bank or Money in the Bag. Somebody check with the Bucks.
We'll get to them, those literally poor bastards. But let's keep things moving here. After Eddie left, we went backstage quickly with the Ops, where Hook says that Samoa Joe took care of his business tonight. And next week, Joe will go on to finish Eddie off. Powerhouse Hobbs stepped in to say that they have some business to take care of tonight as well. And he calls out the Dark Order, who have been doing real well over on Ring of Honor. And tells them,
who cares?
I cares, the Dark Order. And tells them if that they can beat the three of them tonight, they can have a shot at the Trios Championship. Hook tells Hangman that he knows the Dark Order are his friends, so they're going to rough the Dark Order up. Bullshit. And then Shibata says something badass in Japanese before Hook closes out by saying, for the assassin, the monster, and the greatest second generation wrestler of all time. That's going to be the greatest second generation wrestler of all time, this should be light work. That is going to be tough for me to say.
I mean, it's that was a Freudian slip because we've always compared him to Dom.
Well, now you have Dom. Oh, yeah, Randy technically third. There's a lot of second generation guys, but already calling yourself the greatest second generation guy is pretty funny.
Yep.
It's something too when we were getting set up and I had him in it. But AEW just put out an interview he did that I guess didn't make TV in his penthouse, and he called himself that I would imagine for the first time, and he also explained his actions. Why, he was like, I technically left the ops. This was always the plan type of thing. So it was good. It was the best I've heard Hook really speak in a while. So
he is much better in those pre-tapes.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
The vignettes where he gets to I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when he gets to take a few takes and get a cut, he does a lot better.
True. And he looked good back here tonight as well. So he's improving. He'll get there.
I really want to talk about the Dark Order stuff because I love them. I am with you. I love the Dark Order. But this felt so cheap to me. It felt so hollow.
Fair.
So we'll talk about it, but I was bummed.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that and move on to our first match of the evening, which saw Kazuchika Okada face off against Pac in Gold League action in the Continental Classic.
I'm sorry. That title actually goes to Spike Dudley Jr. The runt of the runt. Eric Sanger could be a way of just leading to a 2 out of 3 falls match. Sure, but MJF historically does not like wrestling. So I can't imagine he would want to guarantee himself a match where he has to win twice.
Yeah.
But let's keep going.
Yeah, so Okada versus Pac. I'll just jump right to the end here. After Okada hit a leaping tombstone pile driver, he headed up to the top rope, but Pac jumped up and met him there and hit Okada with an avalanche brainbuster. Pac then hit the ropes and to gain speed and hit that momentum lariat, and he did, knocking Okada to the mat. But when Pac went for the brutalizer, Okada rolled him up with a crucifix and kept him down for the 3 count, and Okada picked up his first 3 points of the tournament. So, James, this was good. I mean, this is one of those matches, and I know I say this a lot with AEW, but it holds true for a lot of dudes. I know they have another gear, especially Okada.
They wrestled last year at Dynasty for New Japan, and it was an incredible matchup. It's why so many people were excited about this match.
Yeah, and it was still very, very good. Yes. But I was left wanting more, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
I think it accomplished a lot of what it needed to. Okada 2 years in a row taking a loss to Kyle Fletcher in the C2 is a big deal.
Yep.
Like he started this tournament 0-3. He was not looking to wrestle a dynamic matchup. He was looking for a quick win. And he wrestled like it. Pac, though, who had 3 points coming into this match, I mentioned being a bullet train earlier when talking about these matchups. He was a bullet. He was shooting around the ring, throwing himself. Like, I personally, I hate it when Roman does it. I hate it when Pac does it. I hate it when when Braun does it. I hate people who bounce off the ropes 4 times before hitting their move. I loved Okada. As Pac is just running between the ropes 3 or 4 times, Okada just rolls out of the ring. I thought that we've joked about it before. Okada is a comedy wrestler cursed with being one of the greatest in the world.
Of all time.
Of all time. So Okada wrestled the matchup that he needed to win this match. Pac wrestled the match that he wrestled last week as well, where he is just a freight train coming at you full speed ahead. And Okada used that to get himself the win. Mm-hmm. He hit that crucifix pin, used Pac's own momentum against him, and he was able to turn it around. And there was a moment where Pac rolled up Okada, similarly to how Fletcher beat Okada last week.
Yeah, countering the Rainmaker.
And it looked like we would have had 0-2 Okada, which I understand why they didn't do. I would have loved to see them do for the drama of it all. just to see how he gets out of that hole.
Yeah, he
I
would
think
have
it would've been
sweep, I imagine.
Yeah. And I think that would have been awesome. So this was not a classic. This wasn't a all-timer like their match last year, but this was a really well executed, thought out match, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't want to take anything away from it. I wanted to see a 5-star and I got a 4. Like, oh no.
You selfish bastard.
I know, right?
We got like 2 5-star matches at Full Gear.
I know. It should have been more, but I think Meltz he cut a few low there.
Regardless.
But
good matchup between these guys. And I do want to note, we've been seeing across both companies, honestly, even TNA, we've been seeing a lot of heel versus heel lately, and I'm here for it.
Yep, it's always fun.
Yeah, like we had Gunther versus Solo, either on Raw or SmackDown, and now we had
it was Monday Night on Raw.
Yeah. Then now we had Pac versus Okada, 2 very different types of heels, by the way.
Yep.
And I like when it's done right, and I think they've been done right lately.
Yeah, technically the main event was heel versus heel as well. So
technically, yeah. No, you're technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Thank you. That is why I love to see too. You get heel versus heel, you get face versus face. Like you get to see guys normally that really wouldn't get matched up against each other, and that's why it's so much fun.
Yep.
Also, to build upon you hating the rebounds, what I guess this case lariat, Okada also picked Pac off when he was in the middle of one with a drop kick.
Yep, it was
and great. Pac saw that for the rest of the match. So I did like the ways that Okada was countering that move, and eventually Pac did end up hitting it. And what did him in was getting greedy and going for the brutalizer, and Okada was able to perfectly counter that.
Yeah.
All right, following that, we went backstage with Mark Briscoe, who was there to call out
twice. We went backstage with Mark Briscoe.
There's a little bit in between, but
I think it was a commercial. I think it was Mark commercial conglomeration.
It was Mark the Demand commercial.
All right, fair
conglomeration.
Fair enough.
But this time, Briscoe is there solo, and he's there to call out Daniel Garcia, saying the first 2 times that they faced off, they went 50-50. The second time, I believe, being for Garcia's TNT Championship, and he at the time thought Garcia was the real deal. Now a lot has changed, including Briscoe's opinion of Garcia. He thinks Garcia has fallen into a Death Rider's death spiral, having called Mark out, but then backed down when Mark actually went and challenged him face to face. But Briscoe doesn't play mind games, so he just went straight to Tony Khan to ask him to make the title match official, so they'll be facing off in Cardiff for the TNT Championship.
First of all, I don't know if you caught it, colorblind and all. You saw Mark has his own TNT title.
So I saw Orange gave it to him after Full Gear. I saw that on Blue Sky, I think.
Okay.
And he was like, Orange is very lackadaisically just was like, here's a gift from the conglomeration, and just like dropped it in his hands and walked away. And Mark was like, this is sick. And he's like freaking out, and Orange is just strolling off.
I love that both singles titles Mark has won so far. The ROH World title and the AEW TNT title have both turned into like this black and white, like camo style strap. I love that they still haven't changed the ROH title since he won it. It's still the same title. I'm very happy they're bringing back customized TNT titles for the winner.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it never really went away.
Did Fletcher not get his own?
He didn't really have his own.
They should have made it pink.
Apparently, so what I heard was the reason they didn't do that was they didn't want it because he was champion around whoever won the Owen. When the Owen tournament was happening, they didn't want 2 pink belts happening at the same time.
Yeah. Hangman won the Owen for the record.
Hangman. Yeah, my bad. So they just didn't want 2 people carrying around a pink belt at the same time. So I kind of get that. But I am also taken back to when the Acclaimed won the trios titles, and we had 3 pink belts going on.
And there were scissor belts at that.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might just be speculation. It might be false reporting, but that's what I heard. But yeah, he should have had his own TNT title. But I'm very happy Mark has it. I'm interested in him versus Garcia. I like that he's wrestling all these young guys.
Yeah.
He's not old. I think he's still I think he might have just turned 40. So he still has some gas in the tank.
Clearly.
Yeah. So, but he's also a veteran who's been doing this for decades at this point. So it's cool to see him tangling it up with these young guys who can learn from him.
Yeah. Quick comments here from Fernando. First one being, Mark is better as a solo act. Get him out of that lame faction he's in.
Boo. Fernando, we like you. We respect your opinions. We respect your rights to have them and to voice them here. But I love the conglomeration, man.
I will back that up. The conglomeration they're great. They're hilarious. And we will get to them more in a second. He's also saying that Fletcher should turn babyface soon. And I think that's coming at some point. We'll talk a little more about the Don Callis family in a bit, but something's going to happen there. It's soon, and it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
All right. Following this, we went back to the demands and a pre-tape thing, and Ricochet was there saying he's had promoter after promoter, booker after booker coming to him and asking him to save their little company. And while he's known for his work in the ring and saving companies, he is best known for his charity work, which he will start at Final Battle by facing off against Dalton Castle for his new national championship. And he'll even stick around an extra day and perform some more charity work on Collision. So good for him.
So the national title is not going to be going abroad. It's just going to be AEW's we're going to have our champion defend at your indie.
Yeah, and I imagine...
And I'm cool with that.
I imagine at some point it'll go to CMLL. Maybe it'll go to New Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it'll go to Rev Pro when they're over there in Cardiff. But
they've made a big deal. His first major defense is going to be at Final Battle. So that's defense. Final Battle. Major defense. That's a Ring of Honor show. So his first major defense is at Ring of Honor. I've been saying it. I'm expecting him at Hog. I'm expecting him at a lot of prominent indies. Yeah. And I think that's just going to be the deal with whoever this champion is. It's going to be their roaming title, but it's not necessarily meant to be an international title.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you're right. It's probably going to be mostly state-based indies unless A, they're out of the country to begin with, or B, somebody who wins it who is more than willing to go do indies overseas.
Exactly. They're going to be in Cardiff soon, right?
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity for Ricochet to go to a local indie and defend it. It's going to give that exactly. He gives a rub to that company. They get to see Ricochet. An AEW title gets to be exposed to a new audience, to a different audience. It's a win-win-win-win.
Wasn't there somebody in All In? Was it the Casino Gauntlet match or at some other point who was from Rev Pro? Who's really up and coming? Are you
talking the original All In or
no? The most recent one. There was somebody from Rev Pro at that, and he's a big up and coming guy, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
We're in the Casino Gauntlet.
It was that, or maybe it was the pre-show. I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I know there was a kid from Rev Pro there, and I just cannot remember his name. But he'll probably end up defending it against him. Watch. And the match is probably going to be really good because that kid in Rev Pro can fly.
Let's just finish these comments real quick. I don't know who it's referring to here. I'm guessing he was referring to Triple H.
I'm guessing it had to do with whatever Ricochet said.
Gotcha. And Fernando saying Dalton is the first challenger to establish the national championship. Really? I'm bummed because I would just love to see Dalton Castle win a title. But look, realistically, biases aside, Dalton is a great first opponent because he's going to put on a good matchup. He's going to get the crowd behind him. And Ricochet is going to overcome that and still be a shitty heel champion. So as much as it pains me, the Dalton Castle fan, this is the right move.
Yeah, and I imagine there'll be interference from GOA and the Outrunners.
Yeah.
So that'll add to some shenanigans to the match.
I am surprised at how short Bishop Khan is in comparison to Toa Leona. Like, he's basically, like, he's just an inch or two taller than Ricochet.
Yeah, but I mean, that happens when you stand next to really tall people.
Oh, no, of course, but, like, when I thought he was, like, the same size as Toa Leona.
He carries himself very big.
That's the big one. He really does carry himself like a brick shithouse.
Yep.
Oh, man, good stuff.
Yes.
But yeah.
It's the way to do it. But I always say this. Everybody says I'm tall, and I'm a basketball player. I'm used to standing next to guys who are like 6'8". So, you guys all think
that must
I'm
be
tall.
so goddamn
tall.
great for you, man. I'm so freaking happy you're so not tall. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not. I'm slightly above average.
Shut the fuck up. Slightly above it. What am I then? An Oompa Loompa?
About average.
Move on. All
right, back to Mark Briscoe, this time with the conglomeration and Renee, who is there to ask Orange about facing off against Roderick Strong in the C2 later this week. But Briscoe jumps in and he says that conglomeration hasn't started off great in the tournament, but the word of the day is retributionification. I think I got that right. Because somebody has to win on Saturday, so they're going to get points. No, they don't actually have to win on Saturday. They can go to a time limit draw, and then they would each get 1 point. But that's
which would be hilarious.
Orange then goes to give Roddy a high five, but Roddy blows him off, exclaiming that he is not a part of the conglomeration, and he's going to beat Orange and go on to win the Continental Classic. Cassidy then tells Mark to tell Roddy the conglomeration rules for the match, and Mark relays that it's no chops. And Roddy just goes ballistic and calls Orange an idiot and storms off. And then Briscoe, Willow, and Harley, who are also there. Yeah, he's going to break Orange's back. And then they all follow Strong out of there. And Orange hangs back, and he goes to Renee. He's like, I don't think he ever saw me. And Renee's just like, you were standing right there.
Brilliant.
And that was great.
It also loved that bit too. He didn't see me standing there. Good line.
I love Orange. He's the man. All right. After this, to very much shift gears, we had a quick thing with Darby Allin. Apparently, after his match in the C2 last week, he was taken to the hospital overnight for observation, and he was told not to travel, and they're seeing his availability in the future. So hopefully Darby is okay, and this is possibly a work.
It has to be, because they had footage of him in the hospital bed.
Yeah, it could have been from any number of times he was in the hospital as well.
That is very true. But no, I am very convinced that this is a work, but I don't really understand why. Go ahead.
I guess that's a good point. They were making a point that Darby has really been burning the candle at both ends, and he has gone through some very, very violent matches since his return and been going nonstop, and they were selling it that way. I'm just hoping Darby didn't accidentally get a concussion or something.
Yeah,
they can just. I watched the match, but they can just happen, and you don't see them as a viewer.
No, absolutely. I don't want to say it's impossible that he actually got injured, but I don't think he did, because if he did have a concussion, I think he'd just be pulled out of the tournament.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the fact that it happened in a Kevin Knight match is what's interesting to me. Because, again, not that he couldn't have gotten just swatted on the side of the head wrong, and that could have been what gave him a potential concussion. But if this is a work, why would you do this with babyface Kevin Knight?
Yeah, that does make sense. So that's why I'm not really sure about what's what. I mean, Knight is doing the coast to coast. You miss that a tiny bit, you can really screw somebody's day up.
For sure. But I something feels off here. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But maybe they want to get Darby out of the tournament, because what's crazy is he took a big loss to Pac and then went into match 1 of the tournament and lost it to Knight. That's 2 big losses back to back. And I don't know why you would get rid of the momentum he should be riding high from having beaten Mox. So if this is their way of we're taking him out of the tournament so he doesn't take losses, and there's a sub who comes in at a disadvantage. I think that's interesting.
And it's not the first time that's happened either.
No.
I think we've had
From legitimate injuries. Yeah, like Juice. Juice got hurt and he got taken out.
That's who it was. Juice, thank you. And I think he got, was it Bandito who replaced him?
I think it was Commander.
Oh, was it Commander? I knew it was one of the luchadors. You're right. It was Commander. I think Bandito might have actually already been in the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could, hopefully it's a work and Darby's okay. Fernando at this point, Kyle's also out kayfabe injured. So it's not like they're unwilling to do it. And that leads him to think it's a work. But it's possible.
And Darby's Mick Foley 2.0.
It's leading to Darby's turn. Hospital bill will turn anyone to the dark side.
Darby and Moxley are suffering multiple losses in a few weeks. I think there's something interesting too there, that if Darby's gone and he comes back to a Moxley who was taken out by the Death Riders, could we see Darby reunite with Moxley?
That or he just stands there and laughs at him like the bully from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's what he should do. But I mean, Hangman and Swerve are teaming with each other, so anything's possible.
Yeah.
It's wrestling.
What I am most intrigued by, and I don't like, this is me getting my hopes up. I know 1,000% it's just me working myself over. Bryan doing something to defend Moxley. If the Death Riders take Moxley out, does Bryan get involved in this story in any way? I think that's interesting. Again, it's me marking for Bryan and wanting to see him get involved in the story, but it's not outlandish to think that he couldn't.
Yeah, especially because he's literally been there. So
yeah, so we'll see. But just a lot of question marks right now with this.
Yeah, a lot of stuff running there. Hopefully Darby is okay.
Yes, most importantly, we just hope he's okay.
All right. Speaking of Kevin Knight, let's head into his Gold League match with Kyle Fletcher. I love this. This was awesome.
Incredible.
And I'm just going to do the finishing sequence because holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I don't know how you could cover anything else. Like they were like pinballs just bouncing around the ring, the outside of the ring. Like so much was happening. There was one point that Knight, I'm so sorry, I know you're going to cover the ending. Knight had done a move where he basically just kept throwing himself at Fletcher. And then by the last time, Fletcher just hit him like midair with a boot.
Yeah.
And I was like, my God, I'm sorry to use this name, the ricochet these guys must be feeling.
Honestly, it wasn't even, I said pinballs, and that might not be that apt of a description because they were moving with that level of speed, but they were hitting each other more like they were bowling balls.
Yeah, no, honestly.
The fact that they were able to move that quick and hit that hard made this match sick.
I agree.
So the ending was Knight gets Kyle in the Tree of Woe, hits the coast to coast, goes for the UFO. Kyle gets the knees up and counters, rolls up Knight kicks out. Kyle gets up, hits Knight with a massive Liger bomb. That's the Undertaker used to use that, right? Was it Last Ride?
Yeah.
When he uses the pants? Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Hits that onto Knight, kicks out again. But Fletcher freaks out to the ref, grabs Knight again, goes for the brain buster. Knight counter rolls him up. Kyle kicks out. Kyle then gets up after scrambling, hits a hell of a kick in the corner, and then follows that up with the brain buster, and he finally keeps Knight down and picks up the win and is now up to 6 points.
Excellent match.
I was out of breath by the time this match ended because of that sequence. It was already, like we said, it was already a great match, and then they packed all of that into about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, holy fucking shit.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with everybody. We know every C2, every tournament in wrestling in general, we know typically that if there's 8 guys, 16 guys, however many guys in a tournament, we know that realistically there's only 2 to 3 or 4 guys that are honestly an actual option to win the whole thing. Doesn't matter if it's King of the Ring, doesn't matter if it's the G1, doesn't matter if it's the Continental Classic, the Owen, whatever it may be.
The last time is now.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. we know that realistically, there's only actually 1 or 2, 3 real choices to win the whole thing. So your hope is everyone else who isn't a real shot of winning at least looks good in the tournament and at least justifies being in the tournament, and through that manages to raise their stock in some way. I think Kevin Knight is the perfect example of that in this tournament. I don't think there's ever been a real expectation that Kevin Knight was going to win this tournament. I don't think he'd be my top 5 picks to win this tournament. And I like Kevin Knight a lot.
Yeah.
But let's just be realistic. All that said, he's had 2 matches, and they've both been great. He got a big win over Darby Allin. Not many people have beaten Darby. Darby takes losses. It's not an unheard of thing, but it's usually top talent that are beating Darby. That's a big deal that Kevin Knight got that win. And even in a loss here against Kyle Fletcher, who is very clearly the star of tomorrow in AEW, he was holding his own and looked like he belonged. And for a second or two, made us think he might actually pull off an upset. Kevin Knight is going from the guy who was Speedball's partner to I'm excited to see Kevin Knight. So, bravo.
Yeah, and I think that, it said this in the chat. I love matches when both sides win, and they absolutely did tonight, because I was watching this thinking, and I think they put it up on the screen too from one of the tweets they've been doing. But by the way, Tony, put those horizontally. Vertically looks stupid. I was thinking, I already knew Fletcher was the future of this company. Knight is now entering that realm.
Conversation.
This guy is going to be maybe a future world champion if he continues to put out matches like this. You know what I mean? So I thought he obviously did great. I think he's just going to continue to build his stock up throughout this tournament. Fletcher is made already. He's just got to, wait his turn. And I hope he can do that, because like you said, he's been great with Speedball. I've loved their tag team together. I'm looking forward to their match together. I'm pretty sure they're on the same side.
Yeah, I think they are too.
But I don't think he's had an opportunity to really truly shine, because tag work is very different. A lot of times somebody's taking heat, and the best you could really do is come in for that hot tag, and you got to learn tag finishes and stuff. We haven't seen too much solos Kevin Knight, and we are going to get a whole lot of it in the coming weeks. And as long as we keep seeing this, people are really going to take notice of him.
I completely agree. And we said from the moment they started teaming up that team was to help both of them get exposure and get TV time. Because the singles divisions are very crowded right now.
Yeah, and it was to help them get acclimated to AEW as well.
Exactly. So I think Jet Speed has absolutely served its purpose. If it ends tomorrow, both guys were better off for being in that team. So very into this.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it will, but...
I don't think so either. But my point is, mission accomplished.
Exactly. And I depending on how this all plays out, maybe this leads to them, maybe not an amicable split, but they go more in solo directions while helping each other out.
Exactly.
Okay. After the match, Don, who was on commentary, got into the ring and began talking, I have something important to say, da-da-da-da. And as he's talking about how he wants to address what happened with the Bucks, Josh Alexander and Hitchell come down with the bags of money.
You're such an odd pairing. I love them together. They're always together, and it makes no sense, but I love it.
I feel like they'd be very good training partners together, so in my head, it kind of makes sense. But they come down with the money from the $1 million match at Full Gear. But first, we have a commercial break as Fletcher is getting the mic to say something, but only to the live crowd. So we don't get to hear what Fletcher says, which kind of sucked. But we come back, and Don is telling everybody that they're lucky that Fletcher even said anything to them, or even showed up, let alone said anything to them, before him getting into what he actually wanted to talk about, which was the Young Bucks betraying him. And he says that you could lie to him and he'd probably forgive you. You could cheat him, and he'd probably forgive you.
I love this.
You could even kill someone, and he'd probably forgive you. In fact, he already has.
Yep, he already has. Brilliant line.
But the one unforgivable thing that you can do to Don Callis is side with Kenny Omega.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. I hate him.
And there's one other important thing Don has to say. He has the Bucks money. And since he knows that Kenny won't financially back them, he dares the Bucks to finally let their nuts drop, come out here and take it from them. And so the Bucks do. They come out and they look at each other and run into the ring. And they go in there and super kick everything that's moving and eventually hit a BTE trigger to Fletcher. And they're able to clear out Hechicero and Alexander and get the money back. However, Okada comes in from behind as they're shit-talking Don and the family. And he hits Matt with a Rainmaker, taking him out. Nick turns around. So, what the fuck, dude? Tries to super kick Okada. Okada catches it. And that allows Alexander and Hechicero to come back into the ring. And the beatdown begins. Jurassic Express, though, then comes out and they clear the ring. And Jack hits a springboard moonsault onto Hechicero and Alexander on the outside. But then things start to turn a little bit as Okada goes face-to-face with Luchasaurus and just kicks him square in the dick. And then Jack comes back in. I almost called him Jungle Boy, but I caught myself. Jack comes back in, and Okada flips him off. So Perry just bites his middle finger until El Clone and Mark Davis come in to up the number count for the Don Callis family and begin wailing on Perry and anybody else who tries to come back into the ring. Then Kenny Omega comes out, and he clears the ring. And it's him.
Hold on. So Don starts participating in the beatdown.
Oh, that's true. He had, I think, was it Nick or Matt? And
So
he was like grabbing his nose or whatever.
No. So Matt gets dropped. He's down. Nick is being held up. Don takes his jacket off, sucks his finger, and then proceeds to eye gouge Nick.
That's what it was. Okay.
Which might be the most revolting thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling. And I've seen some fucked up shit. I've seen guys get like their gauges torn and twisted. I've seen beds of nails. I've seen people walk barefoot through glass. But you stuck your finger and wet willy somebody's eye socket, you've gone too goddamn far.
I mean, I know you're referencing Jeff Hardy with the gauge, but whatever Moxley did to Darby in that cage match a few months ago to his ear, I think was worse.
That was disgusting. But you know what I mean?
I know you don't like that shit. I wanted to bring it up.
I'm fine with it in a vacuum, but the context of how much we've gotten of it from Mox was a little much. But I also don't like ear stuff because Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's what I meant by don't like it. You just don't like seeing it. It gives you it skeeves you out, and which is why I brought it up. But yeah, Don out there, you're welcome. Don out there throws some haymakers. Anyway, as James so eloquently said, wet willying Nick's eye, Kenny Omega's music hit, and he came down, cleared the ring for everybody except Okada. And Okada came up from behind Kenny and tried to hit him with a Rainmaker. However, Kenny was able to duck it and countered with a Snapdragon suplex.
Snapdragon.
Kenny then lined Okada up for a V-trigger, but Okada was pulled out of the ring by the family, who retreated up the ramps with the cash as Kenny, the Bucks, and Jurassic Express stood tall in the ring. So this is going to be a real big 5-on-5er at some point, but
Blood and Guts 2.0. Let's do it. Let's run it back, baby.
Run it back. Well, we'll see what happens because I think the Don Callis family has their own internal issues, which will lead into this, and we'll talk about later. Yep. So if they're going to do this match against the family, who's very involved in the C2 as well, they're going to have to do it quickly.
No, it's very interesting how this is playing out. And we talked about it, how so much is happening with this C2, so much story development. And the most obvious one is the Death Riders. But the Don Callis family, it's been percolating and getting ready to explode for months now. So I'm super into this. I'm super into this. And it's harder for me to predict what's going to happen with the Don Callis family than it is for me to predict what's going to happen with The Death Riders. The Death Riders, I'm just assuming they're kicking Mox out. The Don Callis family feels like it's going to be a civil war, and I have no earthly idea of how those battle lines are going to be drawn.
Not only is it possible there's a civil war and battle lines are drawn, does that end with anybody getting kicked out? Does it end with, do we end up with Don Callis Wolfpack? Like, what do we end up with here?
I maintain, and I think Don has a backstage promo coming up that we're going to talk about. I maintain that Don Callis in kayfabe is the dumbest manager in professional wrestling history. Like, just dumb.
You brought this up on the pod a few times, and I try to push back, but because he does do some smart things, but there is a lot of stupid shit that he does, and it's pretty funny.
I can't for the life of me understand. I get it's Okada. I get it. But you brought Okada in after your ace, Takeshita. You brought Okada in after your rising star, Kyle Fletcher. Why would you let this son of a bitch rock the boat? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. He's dumb. He's a dumb bald dummy.
I'm trying to think of a reason why. Do you know what the reason why is? Because the point of the Don Callis family is whatever Don wants.
And I get that.
What Don wants is gold and to be Kenny Omega. And at the time, Okada had both.
You know what? Takeshita has a better record against Omega than Okada does.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, at the time, if Don made an impulsive decision and went with Okada so he could get those two things, it worked out for him because he not only ended up with, I guess, 2 titles and 1 shiny belt representing the 2 of them.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
But also another defeat of one Kenny Omega. And Don never really thought ahead about, how everybody would coexist. And he doesn't care. And he thinks he's smart enough and a good enough leader to handle these egos. And he very clearly isn't. And that's the thing. It's not that he's dumb. It's just that he can't see past his ego.
He's dumb.
It leads him to make dumb decisions. But that's why.
Fine.
It's not just he's stupid. He's just an egotistical idiot.
Porque no los dos.
It's the same thing. I'm just...
Anyway, I'm getting all worked up. Let's get moving.
All right, let's work you up even more. After this, we had a Babes of Wrath promo package. I won't go too much into it. They were just basically explaining how they met and how they've coalesced as a tag team and stuff. It was cool. I liked it. They are obviously in the finals of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship. Your mic peaked so loud on that. Go ahead, sorry.
I've never been such a hater for a pairing that I love so much, or for anything that I love so much. These women tag team names are awful. Mega Problems for Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir is terrible. It's
not
awful. The Babes of Wrath, the Sisters of Sin. What was the other? The Timeless Love Bombs. These are creator wrestler. What?
I like those 3.
These are creator wrestler tag team names. These are pre-made tag team names that you would find in any wrestling game.
I disagree. Mega Problems is it's borderline, but
borderline.
Mega Problems sounds like something like somebody on Tumblr came up with to start shipping these 2.
Megadeth was right there.
Maybe they couldn't. Well, they use Death Riders. I guess they could have. Yeah, I don't know. You know what though? Saying Don Callis is the Lane Kiffin of wrestling is actually fairly accurate.
Wait, what did he say?
That Don is the Lane Kiffin of wrestling.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't know if you know what's going on with all of that, but it makes sense. Trust me. Anyway, speaking of more team names that James doesn't like, next up we had...
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Now I really want to get him that shirt for Christmas. We had the Timeless Love Bombs, obviously Timeless Toni Storm, and Mina Shirakawa facing off against Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir, MegaProblems, in the semifinal match for the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament. But it was in a hardcore holiday death match that was chosen by Toni and Mina following their win at Full Gear. To run through a couple of the weapons used here, we had a champagne bottle, we had a barbed wire wrapped candy cane, a frying pan, which was interesting. Megan's golden chair came back from Blood and Guts. The tables were all gift wrapped. We had some pool cues, which were used to both snap over people's backs, I presume during commercial, and then Mina later stabs Marina in the head with one. Marina also the only one who really bled during this, which was interesting. So a lot of interesting weapons here.
But from Mox.
Yeah, to hit the end of the match here, after Bayne speared Mina through one of those gift wrap tables in the corner, she and Shafir set up Toni for Bayne hitting an F5 right into Marina's arms, who was already on the ground, so she could go right into the mother's milk submission. However, Toni was able to get out of the F5 and hit a Storm Zero on Bayne and dropped Bayne's head directly into Shafir's stomach. So Bayne rolled out of the ring. Oh, excuse me.
Take a minute. Take a second. I'll take over. At this point, Shafir gets the upper hand, but we're joined by a little early for the month, Santa Claus. Santa Claus comes rolling to town, comes down to the ring, and meets Marina ringside up at on the apron. He has a gift in. You're back. Take over. Take over.
Yeah. So Santa has a gift in hand, and as he delivers it to Marina, he reveals himself to be Luthor, who's back.
Woo!
Finally. And the gift is him flipping Shafir off. The gift is also really to Toni Storm, who was able to use this distraction to sneak out of the ring and grab thumbtacks, I presume, in some sort of black cloth bag. She had dumped them all over the middle of the ring behind Shafir, and then she stuck up on Marina and hit her with a German suplex straight into the tacks. She then she went over to Luther and got a gift-wrapped shoe, which, as commentary pointed out, she didn't even bother to unwrap, and just nailed Marina in the head with it and rolled Marina up into the tacks to pick up the win, and the Timeless Love Bombs were able to advance to the finals. So, James, it'll be the Babes of Wrath against the Timeless Love Bombs for the first AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. But before we get to that, this was an enjoyable plunder match. It wasn't too crazy, especially considering what we have seen recently from the women. Yes.
Them specifically, yeah.
Yes, especially these women specifically. But I think this worked out really well. It was fun, and Toni was able to get some semblance of comeuppance on Bayne and Shafir for what they did to Mina in Blood and Guts.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot. This was fun for what it was. I love commentary pointing out that it's interesting that they would want to have this match, considering they still have to go through the finals next week. They put themselves through hell. Now, admittedly, in AEW, there's a reset. The moment you close your eyes and wake up the next day, all the damage you've taken doesn't really count anymore, unless it's specifically mentioned that it will. But I had a lot of fun with this. I'm very happy to see Luther back. I would love to see a series of vignettes where Luther and Mina Shirakawa are getting to know each other and become friendly. Because that would be just such a fun dynamic. Good old Saint Rev Nick. That'll be fun. I think most of everything worked. I thought it was a little silly that the pile driver onto Shafir's stomach was enough to take Bayne out of the match. I thought that was a little silly. But
I guess. I mean, everything after that happened so quickly, and Bayne had already been pile driven through that table on the outside. So it kind of makes sense in my head.
But I'm intrigued that we're getting two babyface teams going into the finals. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
You typically want there to be a heel to build some drama, because now I can't imagine anyone's going to be mad at either team winning.
Oh, I'm good. I mean, technically, if Toni and Mina win, I win the pool, but that we never created. But I picked them. I did pick them.
I am 100% rooting for Willow and Harley.
Who?
Harley and Willow. You know, that team. Those two babes. And that's it. That's all they are.
Are they
but
very
I am very
wrath-filled?
What?
Are they very wrath-filled?
They are very wrath-filled. I have to wonder if Ford didn't get hurt, would they have gone to the finals?
Ooh, interesting question.
Because Marina and Bayne should not be the inaugural champions. They just shouldn't be. They're not a real champion. They're not a real team. They were thrown together for this tournament and for blood and guts and for everything. But they serve their role well as heel combatants. So I wonder if Ford, because arguably Ford and Bayne are a much more legitimate tag team because they've been around together a little bit longer. They've had a good dynamic for a while. But I'm very interested to see what's going to happen between these four women next week. I'd be happy no matter what. And I have to tell you, I think my highlight of this matchup, because it was so silly, was when Bayne and Shafir had Mina and Toni wrapped up on the ropes, the way Sheamus does the beats.
Yeah.
And Bayne is just hitting Toni. Meanwhile, Shafir is going to town on Mina with a fucking frying pan. I'm like, one of these women are getting it a lot worse than the other. Like, why didn't they both have weapons for that spot? I thought it was so silly, but in a really fun way.
It was really funny. And between this match and watching what she did in Blood and Guts, Mina's much sicker than I thought she was.
Oh my God. She is a vicious person.
She had
what she does to her husband. She spits on the guy. She hits him. She disrespects him.
Who is she married to? I don't know who Mina's
married.
Marina? No, Mina.
I said Marina.
Oh, no, I know. I was talking about Shirakawa.
Yeah.
But Shafir is a fucking UFC fighter. She's nuts. But no, Mina is willing to do way more shit than I thought she would. Just because, you look at her and she's just like this bubbly, effervescent person. And then all of a sudden, now she's out here putting barbed wire candy canes in people's mouths and then doing fucking body slams on top of them.
let me tell you.
And eating a frying pan to the stomach.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All of these Joshis are crazy.
I know. It took me a second to realize in my head just because I hadn't seen this side of Mina. I was like, yeah, she's a fucking Joshi. She probably did this shit like when she was training.
Exactly.
They're all batshit crazy.
Yes, they are.
Anybody who goes through Stardom or any of those places is usually batshit crazy because Toni went through there. She's batshit crazy. Mariah / whatever her name is in WWE now. Whatever.
Blake
Monroe. She's batshit crazy. I think the only one I haven't seen go absolutely crazy is Rio, and she carries around a lead pipe.
Yep.
Like they're all nuts.
In the best way possible.
Yes. Tekla too. We'll talk about in a second. But yeah, they're all fucking crazy. Saying real quick that Luther kind of reminds him of Varys from Game of Thrones. And it's a good comparison. They look similar.
And they're both dickless wonders. Love it.
All right. Speaking of Tekla, her and the Sisters of Sin, and then Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander all had this big promo package together. Basically, it started out with Death Triangle talking some shit, and then Statlander, it cut to them, responded first, saying Tekla talks a lot like a champion for somebody who's never had one in AEW, and she's willing to defend her title anytime, anywhere. To Tekla's point, I think she called Statlander like little baby bitch or something like that. Hayter says that her and Statlander are not friends, but they do have a common enemy, so they decided to team up against each other to take on the Sisters of Sin in Cardiff, because according to Jamie, there's nothing else to do there but fight. And then the two of them can have a talk. And when Statlander asks about what, Jamie looks at Stat's title, and then the two of them stare each other down. So all that's coming through the pipeline. Should be fun. And we set up two future opponents for Statlander's title. After that, we cut to the Dark Order walking through backstage, heading towards their match, with Uno beginning to cut a promo about how they're finally getting this huge opportunity on Dynamite after such a long time. And as they're walking, they're joined. Why booing Uno? Or you just
I'm not booing
Uno.
I'm booing the circumstances surrounding Uno.
I will. All right, I will agree with that. Anyway, as they were walking, they are joined by Hangman Adam Page, chain wrapped around his neck or hanging over his neck. Then they all stop. Yeah. Then they all stop and just look at him. And Alex Reynolds turns to Hangman and he says, I know that you are out for blood, but you cannot ruin this match. And Hangman agrees, saying he owes them at least that much. But the second the match is over, the ops are his. And he walks away. After that, we came back from commercial and we went to a backstage interview with Mercedes Moné. And Renee tried to ask Mercedes about her, and I quote, unsuccessful, unquote, full gear. But Moné angrily cuts her off and says that she is a global icon, 13 belts Moné, and is the number 1 ranked PWI women's wrestler this year.
Okay, Becky.
And asked Renee if that sounds unsuccessful to her. And he's like, I guess not, but let's turn our attention to your upcoming Ring of Honor World Television title match against Red Velvet. And Mercedes says she doesn't understand why she has to face Red again after already defeating her. But if Red wants to fall off the Moné train once again, so be it. And then she addresses Red, calling her out on Ring of Honor, as Red Velvet has been saying that Mercedes doesn't show up there. Well, Mercedes says she's here on Dynamite, as she is always, every week, and Red is nowhere to be found. So Mercedes have to go there and kick her ass so she can learn that there's a price to pay when you talk down to Mercedes Moné. Changing it up a little.
I'm going to die if Red Velvet is the first person to take a belt off of Mercedes.
I don't think it'll be her, but I am a big Red Velvet fan, so not the spot, but I could see her taking the title back at some point.
Yeah.
Real quick, it's saying that stats Mike Work is much improved.
I
agree.
Yeah,
Jinx Human Cook.
Damn it.
I really do. I think that, I don't know, maybe it's just her time off, or maybe she's just more comfortable in this character, but she's been doing great.
It's less character-y, and it's more just normal person.
Yeah.
It's easier to cut that type of promo.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. She's a little more herself, and while she has taken bits and pieces from all of her past characters, it just feels more like it's, Big Daddy Stat.
Yeah.
Also, really quick, I forgot to mention while we're on the women, with the AEW Women's Tag Finals, I'm very much looking forward to hearing the promo Toni Storm cuts about Harley and Willow.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That is going to be the horniest shit she's done in a while.
Censor bars, the censor beeps are going to go crazy.
At some point, Luther's just going to have to cover her mouth.
Yep.
That is going to be great.
She's just going to be fighting to cut the promo while Mina and Luther and AEW officials are pulling her off the screen. It's going to be great.
All right. After that, we had some more backstage stuff, this time with FTR, following a video package of the Bang Bang Gang confronting them on Collision. And Stokely addresses this, saying that he was annoyed, or that he was having a really good day, but he has been annoyed with the fact that Juice and Austin said they wanted to become champions, not for themselves or for AEW, but to pop guys on the injured list, specifically Colton and Jay White, calling it pathetic. Cash then steps in and says that while the Bang Bang Gang, or specifically the Guns, may have been the last team to beat FTR, at least I think it was specifically the Guns, that is the last time it'll happen, because it was FTR who ended the Guns title run. And while Juice said he'd be willing to go an hour to get those titles, he'd probably be done in about 15 minutes, because when it really comes down to it, all there'll really ever be is Billy's son and Mr. Storm.
I mean, I would love to just say my greatest achievement in life was marrying Toni Storm.
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Yeah, oh no, I'm married to Toni Storm. Damn it.
Dax then steps in and calls Juice, a phrase I've never heard before, a walk behind her, saying he's been a bag carrier his whole career, but now he's in charge and he's let the power go to his head. As for Austin, Dax says the only reason he has a job is because of his father, and that this is just a paycheck to him, while for Dax, the title is his life, and he dares them to show up to Collision again and put their hands on his life again. Too many against there, maybe. But whatever. After this, we had Dark Order versus the Ops, which ended far more abruptly than I thought it was going to, because I had to rewind it to see what the end was, because the end was basically Reynolds and Silver breaking up a Hobbs pin on Uno, and then they attempted to take Hobbs out and hit him with a couple of thrust kicks, and then they hit the ropes, but they got caught by Hook and Shibata. Shibata were out, locked in sleeper. Hook put in Red Room, and then as they're doing that, Hobbs just hits Uno with the spine buster, and 1, 2, 3, match is over. After the match, though, true to his word, Hangman Adam Page quickly comes into the ring, and he is left 2-on-1 with Hobbs and Shibata because Hook just mysteriously disappeared.
I didn't even see him leave.
No, neither did I.
Like, I know commentary made a point. Oh, where is Hook? I didn't even see him go. Like, I usually am pretty good at spotting, like, that little thing at the corner of the screen. I could not see where he left.
Oh, part of it was he was covered by the fact that all the people from the Ops Academy or whatever it's called, or Ops Dojo came in, and he was probably able to use them because all those guys bailed out as well. And that left Hangman 2-on-1 with Hobbs and Shibata. And after beating him down a little bit, they sent him up for a big lariat from Hobbs as Shibata held Page up. However, Hangman ducked, and Hobbs accidentally took out Shibata, sending him out of the ring. Hangman then got a beer bottle from somewhere and just knocked it into the head of Hobbs, and it didn't break.
Yeah. That was weird, right? It was like, it wasn't weird that he had it. It was weird that it didn't break.
Which confused me because either it meant it was a real bottle or it was just very strong sugar glass. Either way, Hangman went to the outside, set up for the buckshot lariat, but as he flips over the rope, security comes rushing in. One guy basically trucked Hobbs out of the way, which is an impressive feat. And I know Hobbs was selling, but still.
We've spoken about how these AEW security guards are taking their jobs very, very seriously these last few months.
Well, I like the fact that the more they get beat up, the more violent they get. And
it's one thing. All right. It's one thing for them to completely tackle and subdue Darby Allin. It's another thing to do it to Powerhouse Hobbs, though.
Very true. And they didn't necessarily tackle or subdue him. They just kind of knocked him out of the way of the buckshot, and then they all swarmed Hangman and pushed him into the corner and tried to keep him there as Hobbs went out of the ring and started walking his way back up. However, that was a bad move for the security as Hangman kicked the shit out of all of them, except for one guy who got a buckshot lariat for his troubles. And then we saw Hobbs and Shibata retreating into the back, and then Hangman quickly followed them up the ramp in an attempt to follow that. But James, obviously the beatdown is one thing, and it went all according to plan. But man, the Dark Order got done pretty dirty here.
I hate how they've been treated these last few years. I know they're doing a lot in Ring of Honor, and I'm very happy for them. Yeah. Like I'm happy that they're doing something somewhere. But they were a staple of early AEW, and they are an afterthought nowadays. I don't think anybody expected them to get the win. And that's fine. But how have they not accomplished more? It's not for a lack of getting over, because they clearly can and do often.
And are.
It feels insulting to say they're important enough to Hangman's story that we're going to include them here, but they're not important enough for them to have any resolution to their story years later.
Like their story with Hangman, just to be specific?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say they're also not important enough to get more than a 5-minute match.
Yeah, like it's a bump. Look, it sucks. Every company needs talent to put over. I hate that the Dark Order are jobbers in AEW, but they are, and they have been pretty much the entirety of their tenure in the company. Very, very early on, it was different, but even very, very early on, they were jobbers serving Mr. Brody Lee, who was not obviously a jobber, but they were all designed to be his minions.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
they weren't always jobbing either. You know, they were getting wins. They were they just couldn't break through the ceiling and get to the top, you know. And even with Brody, well, Brody obviously did, but They weren't getting tag title wins when he was there, and they weren't even when they were with Hangman after Mr. Brody unfortunately passed. They weren't really getting big wins with him either. They lost that big 5-on-5 with the Elite. So they've just really never been able to break through whatever materialist ceiling you want to call it.
And then they had their split. Hangman and the Dark Order had their split. The last thing I saw Hangman do with the Dark Order was when he beat up Uno to take his spot in that match. That he hit Uno with the chair. That. And it's like, why are we pretending that this is something meaningful? Like, I know I'm being a nitpicker, and I know I'm being like kind of shitty about this when I should be happy that they're just on screen in the first place. But like, do something with them. Don't just do it once a feud for Hangman to remind him, see, there are people that he cares about. Does he? Fucking does he? Like, he clearly doesn't.
It's very weird, too, because, as you mentioned, Hangman did attack Uno, but there was also a time when Hangman tried to make amends, and they were just like, no, fuck off.
And you can't blame him.
Yeah, and that might have been before Hangman started having, his, I don't want to say heel turn, but more of his, darker cowboy run. And they were just like, no, like, you kind of just abandoned us. Yep. And we haven't, you don't call, you don't write, like, they just haven't heard from him at all. And they were annoyed, and rightfully so. And now. And
they were heels for a little bit, too, in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And the only time we really ever saw them on AEW television, again, outside of Hangman attacking Uno, was the beginning of the Death Rider stuff.
Yep.
And that looked kind of cool, but I think they jobbed through the Death Riders really fast. I think Uno had a decent matchup against Moxley where he bled like a literal bucket. But other than that, what do they do? They've just been in Ring of Honor. And I'm with you. I wish they were more, I don't want to say respected, because they're definitely respected by Toni as a group and as people. And I think due to their affiliation with Brody, like, they'll probably have jobs for life. But especially Uno, he runs like their whole video game.
I mean, you say that, but like half the Dark Order got released.
Yeah.
You got released twice.
Yeah, well, I meant the three of them at minimum. But I just wish they were pushed more in some way, shape, or form. Like, these guys are guys who have been loyal since day one and deserve a title win somewhere. Hopefully Ring of Honor, but especially in AEW at some point.
No, I agree, and I don't want to keep harping on it because I've said what I need to say, but it's at the end of the day, this just feels like, who did they piss off that they were never given more?
Yeah,
I love the trios title, and I'm very happy the Ops have it or have had it. But are you saying this belt that was at times a complete afterthought couldn't have been thrown on the Dark Order?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's for guys like them. But hopefully they can work their way back in at some point. We'll see.
I hope so.
You know what's saying the Dark Order's last and only hope is -1. The kid needs to hurry up and grow up.
All right, I'm
got a match.
I'm making my unfortunate prediction right now. That kid is going to WWE. 100%. I think that kid's going to. He's training at the dungeon with Natalya. He's already said he wants to be the person to retire Cody. Like, I think he's going to WWE.
I can definitely see him, somebody who does both.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would have any problem with that.
You know what? No, I'm going to boo him. I'm going to boo the kid. I'm going to boo him. I don't care. You're old enough to wrestle. You're old enough to get booed. If I could boo Nick Wayne, I could boo you.
I think that, like you said, I think he wants to, have matches with Cody and, as you said, retire him. But I also think at some point he's going to want to go to the company that, had so much more respect for his father than WWE ever did.
Yep.
Really quick, going back to the Statlander thing, I also missed the boop. You know it. All right, I'm going to do this quickly out of order because we only have two things left and it'll just make more sense. After we came back from the commercial, we had Hangman backstage and he was irate. And he was yelling that he gave 3 years of his blood and sweat to get back the championship, finding everybody on the roster to get it. I think he name-checked Ospreay and Fletcher. And of all the people to cost him the title, it was Hook. And there was definitely a fucking implied there.
No, it really was. Hook?
Yeah.
Fucking Hook? I love that bit.
Paige said that a full gear for Samoa Joe was a crowning moment for the Ops, but for him it was just a bump in the road because whether it's him being Joe or Eddie, he will take the championship back. But if Hobbs and Shibata want to fight, then they've got one, and he calls him out for a match at Winter is Coming, saying he will not be alone and that they know who's coming for them, and he tells Shibata and Hobbs to get their affairs in order.
Yep.
Wonder who that could be. Well, you know, when winter is coming and it snows, you do tend to swerve when you drive.
Even if it's not. Do you like his new theme music? We didn't really get to talk about it. I've seen a lot of people hate on it.
I think people got so used to the original and they were so into the Nana dance and vibing to it. It's going to take a little while for it to grow on people, but it goes. It does.
I think it's very good. I think it would have been good if he had turned heel. Like, save it for a heel turn.
Yeah,
that way you don't have people dancing to your music. It shows like a change in attitude. I would have kept that in the chamber a little bit longer.
It does sound more heelish, which almost made me pause when he came out at Full Gear. I was just like, "Oh, this is different," and I'm like, "This is darker." And I was like, "All right, I wonder what this, says about the future," but we'll see.
We shall see.
All right, last thing to cover here. Now, this was after the Hangman Ops fight. We went backstage for an interview with the Don Callis family. It was that carny piece of shit Don, Fletcher, and Okada. And Renee asked Don if it is now safe to say that the Young Bucks won't be joining the family, but Don refuses to answer her, saying he's tired of answering negative questions from Renee. Okada then jumps in, and he says that what happened out there with the Bucks was Takeshita's fault once again. And Don attempts to tell him that it wasn't, with Don saying that Takeshita's off training for his Continental Classic match, but instead Takeshita comes over and interrupts Don, saying he's right here. The two then step to each other, and Don and Kyle have to get in between them. And Don is like, I am confident that the Continental Championship will be coming back to the family between one of these three guys. Renee then asked Don why he didn't put up both legs of the unified title in the tournament. And Don, doing a lot of heavy lifting for Tony Khan here.
But not even answering the question, by the way, in a hilarious manner. But please go.
He explains to everybody that the Unified Championship was created as a symbol for both the Continental and International Championships. So when Okada won the International off of Kenny, he is now both the Continental and International Champion, but carries the Unified Championship more as a symbol than an actual title. So instead of like defending both titles at once, you just defend the Unified, or you can defend them individually, like Okada's doing now in the C2, because he technically had to give that up to enter, which is weird. Anyway, Renee then again asked Don why he didn't put up both legs, because as you mentioned, James, Don didn't answer the question. And Don says, well, that would be a stupid thing to do. Why would I bet both of these things when I only have to gamble one? It would be something a degenerate gambler would do, like Nick Jackson.
Admittedly, Don is right.
Yes, it was an absolute stray, but he's got a point, Sting.
Yeah.
Kyle then steps in and says that with him at 6 points and Takeshita and Okada at 3, the title is all but guaranteed to come back to the family, and the International Championship will be staying on the shoulder of that guy right there, Kazuchika Okada.
I have to say, I am now more inclined to think Okada is not going to win the tournament and he's going to lose the Continental title. But the problem now is...
Sorry, I'm laughing at you know it. Go ahead.
I just saw it.
All right, well, no, it's all right. Regain your composure. You know it in chat. My wife put up both legs, Don. Why can't you?
Bravo.
Well played, sir. Well played.
The problem, though, is if Okada loses, that means AEW has 4 mid-card championships.
Yeah.
And that's fucking nuts. Like, I love my titles. I do. But we were saying, well, now AEW has 3 mid-card titles. 3 feels like a lot again. Like, that was the whole point of unifying them. But now there might be fucking 4.
I think there is going to be 4. I'll tell you
Toni
what.
can't beat the allegation. I am almost inclined to have Okada win, just so we still only have 3 mid-card titles.
Luckily, I'm pretty sure that the Nationals mostly going to be defended outside of AEW.
I get
So
that.
it's still going to be, hopefully it's more like 3, but it's still that's a whole lot of mid-card titles for somebody who only really has 4 hours of TV a week.
I think it's a little silly. It's a little silly. I'm very happy we live in a world where Mark Briscoe has the title. I'm very happy we live in a world where Ricochet has the title, and I'm happy we live in a world where Okada has the title.
Yes, too.
But you know what I mean. But the idea that someone else might also have that, what are we doing? Toni, what are we doing? You were doing well, but you don't like this. This feels like an Okada middle finger to all the people who were like, AEW has too many titles. Tony's like, I'm going to do it even harder now.
Yeah, I'll fucking do it again. Yeah, I don't quite get it. I mean, we heard when it was created that the unified title was going to be defended a little more like a secondary
world title.
World title. And A, it really hasn't been, I don't think.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
And B, now we are potentially and most likely probably splitting them again. So why didn't you just have Okada? Like, why didn't you say that in the first place? And B, why did we need another title? It's a lot. I think at least the Continental at least gives us the tournament every year, and the International was the workhorse title, and that's why I loved it.
So we're going to have an international and a national title?
Yep. Not to be confused with the Intercontinental or the which also shouldn't be confused with the Continental.
So hold on. National, Continental, International, World.
Yeah, basically.
TNT, which maybe could be streamed in space for all we fucking know. Oh,
I mean, it might be. I don't know if they get it up there on the ISS. It'd be really funny if people were watching wrestling in space, though. I'm sure they're busy, but it'd be pretty funny.
There's a lot of downtime, I feel like, in space.
I know. Well, shit can always go wrong, so.
Yeah, I mean, God forbid. But
yeah.
Oh,
right.
What a day.
Yeah. All right. Let's give James a break here and begin to wrap things up. So, James, I thought this was a very good episode of Dynamite. I liked last week's episode as well, even though we didn't get a chance to talk about it. But the C2 just changes things when it comes around because the show is so very heavily wrestling based. And even though there were great matches tonight, all 3 matches in the C2 were great, as was the women's tag. I don't want to leave them out. But there's so much storyline revolving around the C2 every year, even for guys who don't even really have them. But there's some really big, juicy stories this year with the Don Callis family, with the Death Riders, that it's making this Continental Classic very intriguing.
Yes,
and it's upping the wrestling of every episode that we get, and it makes Dynamite so, I don't want to say more enjoyable because I always do enjoy Dynamite, but it makes it more enjoyable, even more enjoyable.
It adds stakes to the show inherently.
Yes.
Inherently, you have a show that if there is not a title match or a major blow-off feud type deal like Anarchy in the Arena or Blood and Guts or whatever, you have a show that has stakes. So it makes it feel more important, which makes it more exciting to watch. So I'm super into it. I was ignoring the Galaxy title, but realistically, WWE had the Universal title. So
that would then be Galaxy would be below it technically.
Yeah, technically. tired, boss.
Well, I mean, never mind. I was going to do a bit, but
do it. No. You
well, I would say the Universal was technically referring to the WWE universe, which is really just a group of fans. So it's really technically on the world. So that would put Galaxy above it.
So are we in is AEW part of the multiverse?
No, it's part of the world. It's just there's world titles everywhere.
Anywho, I very much enjoyed the show. I was happy to see Kenny not go away, like he's still here. I truly really happy to see Luther.
Yep.
Eddie and Joe had a great back and forth to start everything, and we had some great matchups. We had some really fun matchups. Next week, Winter is Coming. Very exciting. Gotta love that they've stuck with Winter is Coming years after Game of Thrones ended.
Yeah, it's cool though.
Like I know there's still House of the Dragon. I know there's still going to be Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but we know Winter is Coming is Game of Thrones, and they kept it going. So good for them.
Yeah, I don't even think the first one was sponsored by Game of Thrones. I think they used it.
It was because they were.
I know.
Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, they still are.
So yeah, gotta love it.
I fast forwarded through all those commercials, so maybe that's why I didn't see it when I rewatched it the other week.
Fair enough. But enjoyable show. Looking forward to next week. I think we're going to get a shakeup. I think MJF is coming back very soon. And I think there would be some justice to MJF cashing in on Joe.
There would be. See, I guess that's part of what you were saying before, where the lack of the immediate cash in kind of takes away from it. But and while there would be that justice, MJF is still heel. So
you could change that at any point. Not that he should go babyface, but he could easily return as a babyface.
Yeah, I guess. But then
I don't even know what wrote him off. What wrote him off?
He just kind of disappeared after his match with Briscoe.
Well, it was Mark. Yeah, it was Mark.
He was because he just was like, I'm leaving for a while to go figure it out. Fuck you.
And to go film and get married.
Yeah, that's what it really was. Well, he had already got married. He was leaving to go film.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what, but
we'll find out together.
Yep. All right. And I guess actually I had one more thing. Because you mentioned Luther. I am very much looking forward to seeing his interactions with Mina, just because I think he's going to accept her so much quickly than he ever did Mariah.
I think so too. But I would love it if he is super into Mina, but Mina is kind of weirded by him and he's got to win her over.
That would be pretty funny.
I think that could be a really fun dynamic as they go ahead. But I truly think I think they're winning. I think they're beating Willow, and even though I want Willow and Harley to win, and I think the main reason they brought Luther back is so he could just carry the belts for them as they do their entrance. I truly believe that's the reason.
What? He's not going to do a pirouette?
I don't think it's in the cards.
I'd like to see him try. But that makes sense. And yeah, I've had Toni and Mina winning since the beginning, but I also didn't expect Harley and Willow to get out of the first round. So
yeah.
It's gonna be a fun match. Going to be a great promo.
We got to do a side bet. We got to do a side bet.
We'll see. Yeah. All right. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We appreciate it. If you like, subscribe. If you like the video, let us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here on the pod, and we'll continue to do it. And if you could subscribe, continue to get all the great content here on the podcast. We got the Gym Pack Zone, I presume, coming up again tomorrow. Yes. James has a lot to talk about, including TNA's new TV deal with AMC. So be sure to tune in for that to hear James's commentary on. He's got thoughts. I won't spoil what they are, but he has thoughts. So be sure to check that out.
It's positive. They are positive.
First time in a while for TNA. We also cover Monday Night Raw. I saw Matt do that this Monday, so be sure to check that out if you're a big fan of WWE. And we do our best to cover any big pay-per-views here on the pod. James, Final Battle is this Friday. Correct?
Friday, yeah. It is my goal to cover Final Battle. I'm not going to 100% promise it to you guys, but that is the goal. It looks to be a very fun card. That there are some really exciting matches on that show. So if you're into it, Join me on Friday. We'll see what we can do. What are you smiling at?
And I are going back and forth making Beastie Boy jokes.
Fair enough.
He made a good one.
So, yeah, guys, I will be with you tomorrow as we talk about Impact on the Gympact Zone. We'll, of course, also talk about the TNA deal, how I feel about it, everything. I want to hear your thoughts on it. God willing, final battle on Friday. A week from Saturday, I will be at John Cena's last match at Saturday night's main event. I hope to provide some coverage. I obviously most likely won't be able to review the show. Hopefully someone here can. I'm not trying to commit you to watching WWE, Rev, but it is kind of a big deal that should be talked about.
I know. I will see how my schedule looks.
Fair enough. In addition to that, expect a fun video to drop sometime this week. A John Cena related video that we're finally putting out. And gonna tease you guys with some stuff. We're going to be adding a new format to the pod. Can't get into specifics quite yet because we're still figuring out some logistics, some details. But expect to see some new faces pop in here and there every once in a while, and people in the industry. So we'll have more on that as we can, okay? But we are, as I've said, 3 away from 2,000, guys. This is a huge, huge deal for us. We've really done a lot of growing. We've shown a lot of momentum, and it's all because of you guys, and we're super appreciative of that. And as we continue to get bigger, I keep telling you, more and more is likely to come because of that. So the more of you there are, the more we can do with you guys. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to see what's next.
James with the PBS and viewers like you promo there. But in reference to what James said about being at John Cena's final match and getting some content, I'm sure a lot of that will be put over on our social media stuff. So if you're here on YouTube and want to check out those places, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Twitter are all in the description below, all those links. If you're watching us over on Twitter or on Facebook and want to follow some other places, Twitter's at @marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod, youtube.com/marketdown3665, marketdownpod.bsky.social if you want to hang out with me over there, or just search Marketdown Podcast on any social media platform, and you're most likely going to be able to find us. Diago, you got anything else before we officially get out of here?
We will see you soon, and hopefully maybe Rev and I might show up at Hog in a couple weeks.
We'll do, we'll do what we can. Or the Hammerstein Ballroom at the end of the month.
Jesus, yeah.
We'll let you guys know where we end up getting tickets to and heading out to. So hopefully we see some of you guys out. In the meantime, enjoy your Decembers. So for James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here, the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.